So The Bubble is Netflix's new original movie and it's directed by Judd Apatow. But should you be watching it? Let's talk about it non-spoiler. This is going to be an interesting one. So The Bubble is about a group of actors who try and complete a film in a bubble in a hotel in amongst the COVID time. And stars Karen Gillan, Iris Apatow, Pedro Pascal, Leslie Mann, David Duchovny, Keegan-Michael Kay, Fred Armisen, Maria Bamford, Kate McKinnon. That cast is crazy. And if you happen to see the Beasts movie, Cliff Beast 6 movie that they're making in this film, that is a film I actually wouldn't mind watching. It's sort of tongue-in-cheek, Sharknado sort of franchise that I think could be a lot of fun to watch. However, the film we are watching is about them making the film. And the thing about this film is if you've seen the trailer for the actual film, The Bubble, it looked like it was going to be very self-aware, but kind of pointing fingers at like what happens to Hollywood or what can happen to Hollywood and how sometimes Hollywood actors are not quite human in their responses to things and how they react to certain things that crop up like COVID. And then we see how they try and cope with being confined with all their eccentricities and then doubling down on what is happening around them. So when a production house gets involved and say, no, you definitely have to make this movie, you're in contract, you can't break it, so you're going to make this movie regardless of what you think. You take all these weird personalities, you shove them into a box and you see what happens. And that actually sounds fairly entertaining. The thing is, I think this film thinks it's really funny and it just isn't. Like, there are moments when there's a sort of gag or skit that has just happened and there's almost like a pause of a second or two waiting for the audience, as if it's like a live studio film, or this is filmed in front of a live studio audience, waiting for that reaction of the clapping or people laughing. It has those sort of awkward pose moments. And then there's also weird kind of TikTok moments of videos trying to be self-aware of like where they are at in today's society and time, trying to tick all the TikTok boxes. And then you have the actors trying to stay relevant and they're trying to not have their careers crash, and also with their own eccentricities, not bring that down. And so there's all this going on inside this story, but there is no real story. The story is these people stuck in a hotel that are actors that have a certain way of being, and so really you don't like any of them because they all seem to have major issues. Okay, so they're human, but they're not likable people mostly. Like, you will like to laugh at the moments that they find themselves in. I say laugh, you might giggle a couple of times, but the way it's broken up and the way the film is put together leaves you going, well, what is this? This does definitely feel like if it was a stand-up routine, maybe poking fun at them, being self-aware. But the thing is, the jokes about poking fun at Hollywood can only carry you so much. I expected to love Karen Gillan. I just thought she was Karen Gillan in this. They should have just stuck with their own names, because it really feels like, it would have worked better if it was more of a mockumentary. It almost is a mockumentary about what actually happens. The best thing about this film is the film that they're making within this movie. So when you get to see them actually doing some on-set bits with green screen and how that looks in real life and the comparison between that is when it gets interesting. And I would say the last 20 minutes of this film is the most interesting because something's actually happening. You're kind of going, okay, I wonder where this is going to lead, what's going to happen with our cast because of studio involvement, that kind of thing. That is when it gets interesting. And they even are self-aware about that, because they kind of pointed at, hey, look, this is when the story gets interesting. Even though if the film is crappy, if you stick the landing at the ending, they literally say this in the film, then it's great. So it feels like they know their film isn't great, but they're making fun of that. So it's a very self-aware film. Maybe it's not on my level. And I do have a kind of love-hate relationship with Judd Apatow films. There's some I thought were good and some not so great. This one, I really try to enjoy watching this film. I watched it with my teen son. I watched it with my wife. Both left the room. They were like, you're reviewing this, right? So we don't have to watch this? Nodded my head. out they went. I was like, okay, so it's not just me, because they're very particular on what they like as well. We have very different tastes. So it was interesting having different demographics in the room. Maybe I'm meant to be the demographic, critic, being involved in films, making films, understand what goes on behind the camera, in front of the camera, from script writing to actually filming a film or many shorts. I've done it all. I've been there. I understand it. And I just found this painful. It's unfortunate because I think there's an idea in here that works well. I just don't think it's executed well. I don't think it's the actors' fault, because the actors here, you've seen them in great stuff. I think it's the actual writing or the direction, because even the jokes, they just don't fall right. They fall flat. So I'm going to give this 1 Nicolas Cage out of 5. There were moments in it that I enjoyed, so it gets a point. And I like some of the actors. They have some moments that I was enjoying. I wasn't ever laughing. I think maybe I giggled twice. Yeah. And I laugh easily. I'm always willing the film to be what it's supposed to be. But I'm just not sure what this film's supposed to be, except self-aware. Alright, maybe you will love it, and that's just me being my 40-year-old grumpy pants. And let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.